Hi, I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Sophie, and we are here to help guide you to the why behind your wellness why.
Come join us on our journey. So, Sophie, I deleted my TikTok the other day.
No, you go, girl.
Mhm.
Why?
I can't. I can't with it right now. It took me a really long time to even get TikTok, and I learned some cool things from there, more of like house stuff, like these kitchen hacks that I literally learned that my dishwasher can move in terms of like the shelves in my dishwasher can go up and down. I learned that from TikTok. I learned some organizational tips in my house from TikTok, but it's just there's also a lot of crazy information out there. I needed a breather. I never posted on TikTok ever in my life. I don't even think I had a profile picture, but I
You didn't.
watched TikToks and I got rid of it.
I mean, you go, girl. I told myself I would never get one. And I had like these high school clients last year. You should get a TikTok and post on it, and you'll get famous and you'll train celebrities and you'll forget about us. I was like, ladies, that is not gonna happen, but you can dream for me. But I have not scrolled on Instagram since Halloween of last year. I'm almost coming up on my 1 year.
Wow. Why do you not scroll on Instagram?
So, what started it was I was going to Paris to visit my family. And on vacation, it depends on the vacation, but I'm like, obviously, I'm going to try not to really be on my phone. And I was like, I'm not going to take the time. Like, scrolling on Instagram has just sucked me in, and I don't want to do it anymore. So I was like, I'm going to France for 6 days. I'm not going to scroll on Instagram. I'll go on every so often, look at stories, post a story, whatever. And I just continued to not scroll. I got back and I was like, ooh, what if I don't scroll for like a couple more days? And I was like, I've made it a week. What if I don't scroll again? And it just continued and continued. And I was like, wow, it's been like a month. And I'll see the first one that pops up when I open it, and I'll like it, and I'll go to my friends' profiles if I want to see what they're up to. But it's just so much better. And I'm like, I don't need to see everyone's stuff all the time, and I don't need to it's so time consuming.
Yes. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, and I feel so millennial saying that. But I think a lot of people can relate to that because
Yes.
I think there's really good things about social media. I've connected with a lot of people. I've made friends. I always like used to laugh when people are like, I've made friends on social media. I totally have. I've met amazing people. I've learned about events. I've learned things about my business. But there's also like such a dark place of social media that is taking over our lives. And I know I was even just texting you the other day about this. Like, I'm still trying to find that balance because I really do think there's so much good out of social media, but for all of the good, I also think there's a lot of bad, and it's really hard to find that balance.
I agree with you. And it can be a dark place. I only follow like three female influencers in the fitness world because I don't need to see your booty band stuff. And I just don't need to see you in a bikini like all the time. Like if it's a girlfriend, oh, you go, girl. But like some of these influencers that just post bikini picture after bikini picture, I'm like, I don't need to follow you. And it's not them, but that makes me feel bad about myself. And I don't want to feel bad about myself. So I just don't even entertain following some fitness people on Instagram. I can't do it.
That actually leads into a really good point about because you mentioned bikini pictures, just about pictures in general, how deceiving they can be in terms of posing, in terms of photo editing, video editing, all of that type of stuff.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I've like posed in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I look just like that girl on Instagram. And I just move my body in that way. Or I'm like, I don't know how they have the spinal rotation in like some of these booty pictures. I'm like, how do you do that? That's uncomfortable. And I'm like, it's unrealistic. And like we all have good angles and we all have bad angles. It's a part of being human.
Yes. And I think again, like, because I don't want to sit here and say like every influencer on Instagram is like doing harm, because again, I think there's a lot of good out there. And I think there's a lot of people out there who social media is like their full-time job. And I think they're good people. But again, to your point, it's how we're receiving that information and self-comparison and body image. And like,
Yeah.
you and I might be able to look at a picture and be like, oh, well, it looks that way because they're posed a certain way. And even like, I can't remember her name, but I saw someone post something. She's a model and she was posting like recommendations on just like average normal people, how to kind of like you were saying, pose in certain angles for photos, just like everyday photos, not, bikini photos or anything like that. And she was giving some really good tips. So like some people, if we know from the back end, okay, it is just the angle or the pose or whatever the situation, but again, a lot of times when you're scrolling, we don't think that. We just scroll and we naturally go to that dark place of, well, why don't I look like that? I wish I had this feature, or judgment, even too. It can be the other way of we're like judging someone for something. So, yeah, I feel like that's one example of the dark reasoning behind social media.
Oh, 100%. And it's always, even on Facebook in the olden days, so long ago, it's like people only show the good. Like there's so many people that will never post a picture that is like the slightest bit unposed.
Yep. Hmm.
And like again, that's like not realistic.
Yeah. I think that kind of not only just pictures, because you're right. I think like with Facebook and with Instagram initially, it was a lot of like photos and people would show, just like you said, the good in their life. But now that it's more of going towards video and stories and TikToks and reels, I agree. I think it's the same thing. It's now just showing even more of people's like,
I'm on vacation.
uh-huh, or just even their daily life. Like it always cracks me up, let me show you my morning routine. And it's like they'll show every good part about it, but like they won't show their dog pooping, but like clearly they have a dog and clearly they're taking that dog out, but like they're not showing that. But with that being said, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate, because now I have never done like a day in a life, or I've never done like start the morning with me. But I do have to say, I struggle with sometimes showing, I don't want to say the bad, because I'm not trying to be like, oh my gosh, my life is so hard and bad. But like, I have a hard time showing my full life. And the main reason is because when something is happening, whether that be like a hard moment or maybe it's an exciting moment when like I'm out with my friends. So one piece of feedback that I've gotten a couple of different times is like, you always look like you're eating perfectly. And as we all know, and if you've worked with me or listened to our podcast, Sophie and I are not perfect when it comes to our eating habits, not even close. But the reason that I don't always show that on social media is not because I'm trying to hide it, but because like I don't think, okay, I'm drinking a beer with my friends. Let me snap a picture of this every single time. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just want to enjoy the moment. And I think the same thing with like being and going through something hard or challenging. It's like, okay, if you're sad, I know some people get on social media and like will show them crying. I don't know how. Because again, when I'm going through a hard moment, the first thing I think of is not to take a picture or a video of myself. And that makes me cringe just thinking about that. Not because of like showing people what I look like, but like if you're going through something hard, like why is the first thing you think of, let me pull my camera out? Like I can't even fathom doing that. And again, maybe that just shows my age, but I don't know.
I'm thinking I would not want you to see me cry. I'm an ugly crier. Who's a cute crier? Please contact us.
I am
Send
such
video.
an ugly crier. Oh my goodness.
No, I can't. I'm with you. I'm like, if I'm crying, I'm like on my bathroom floor with a box of tissue and I might be on the phone with my mom.
hmm Same. Same. Yes, I know. I know. It's, yeah. So it's hard. It's hard because it's just like a snapshot of people's lives. And I think some people make their lives look very cookie cutter and perfect, and other people might and might not be trying to do that. But also, it's like kind of take everything with a grain of salt because you're not seeing the full picture. Whether it's like, again, someone who is really positive or someone who might not be the best person to follow, either way, someone is not showing you every single minute of their lives, nor should they be. So I think that's kind of like what we just need to realize is, again, I think we all know that, but sometimes we go down that rabbit hole of, well, this is how their life is, but understand, even if it's an influencer doing this for a full-time job, you're still not seeing every minute of their life.
No, not at all. I'm going to shift the topic a little bit. This just goes with like workout videos. Sometimes I just can't with them. And speaking about like take things with a grain of salt, there are fake weights out there. That's all I have to say. There are fake weights out there and people posting videos acting like they're lifting so much, but when they're actually not even like real.
I
And
have never thought about that.
yeah, yeah.
That's wild to me. I mean, I know that there are fake weights, but again, like, why do we live in a world where people think to do that? It makes me cringe.
I mean, I guess, and I think that just goes back to self comparison and seeing other people lift heavy weights, which can be also brought back to diet and like what I eat in a day. And people just show them lifting so much and eating so well. And they think they're probably just doing a good thing for social media when you can actually just show that you're being human and that you're working towards a goal of what you want to lift and slowly changing your daily habits and how you want to eat and things like that.
Totally.
I think we should talk about a good thing you brought up right before we started the podcast and how, when you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok and it's like your For You page and you are coming upon these other humans on the other side of their phone, um, and that you might not be their audience for diet and or exercise. And all this, one, there's so much information out there, which we know, and we've done a lot of debunking in some of our past podcasts, but a lot of information too is like general. And when people are like, don't squat like this, squat like this, don't bench like this, bench like this, it still depends on your body, especially when people are like, don't eat these carbs, eat these ones. Chelsea can talk about more diet examples, but
Yeah, this is something I struggle with being a dietitian and like being on social media is it just I think it's partially because when I went to school to become a dietitian and my first job was in a hospital setting, it was very, I don't want to say black and white because that's not really the right terminology, but like it was like ingrained in my head about like what to do from like a legal standpoint in terms of like what you should share and what you shouldn't share and all of that type of stuff. And so now I see it from like the other side of when I'm just scrolling through social media, it's not necessarily me posting something. I'll come across something. And again, let's take nutrition, for example. I'll be the consumer and I'm just like scrolling through something and I'll see a recipe or a nutrition tip or piece of advice. And because I'm a professional in nutrition, I'm like, okay, that's a really great piece of advice, but probably only for like 25% of the population. But to your point, if it's coming up on your For You page, that's when we start to question ourselves. Well, should I be doing that? Is that for me? Super easy example to think about is like gluten free. I follow someone who has celiac disease, and so she cannot eat gluten. And so her whole page is about like gluten free recipes and gluten free menu items and all this type of stuff, which she's very open about. And it literally says on her profile about her having celiacs. And so, like, that's why she's doing it. But if you're just a consumer scrolling through and you don't know her backstory, and she goes on and on and on about buying these like gluten free products and making gluten free recipes, you might be like, well, should I be eating gluten free? Like, wow, she looks really good. Like, maybe she looks that way because she's eating gluten free. And that's not why she is or why the way she looks, but it's because of a medical condition. And again, I could give like so many examples of this, but it's another reason our society is so miseducated because we see something and we think we have to be doing it or start to question what we're doing, and workouts can be the same way.
Oh, 100%. And I also have to say, and I think I meant to say this earlier, about how opinionated everyone is and how they comment and share it. Like I swear on TikTok, I think people just like rip each other apart in the comments. It's like absolutely insane.
Trolls,
Yeah.
is that what Gen Z calls them these days?
It's like, oh my God, like she saw this or she saw that in the comment. It's like nothing can just be.
Yeah, I mean, it's like bullying,
It is.
adult bullying, but it also could be a 12-year-old bullying you too.
And you
You'll
don't know
never
because,
know.
yeah, because they don't have a picture and their username is like 54321 something.
I think that's why TikTok bothers me. Again, showing my age once again, but it's like, of course, you can hide behind the screen on any platform and be somebody else and like catfish somebody, but like TikTok is like so generalized. And yeah, like you can have, I mean, I guess on Instagram you can have a general username too, but like I don't know, TikTok like creeps me out. It weirds me out a little bit.
I forget. Have you seen Social Dilemma, the documentary?
No, I talk about social media a lot with my friends,
Get
just like kind of
outside.
going back and forth. I'm scared to watch it. I'm like,
Watch it.
I know, I need to. I need to.
So, I mean, it talks about kids these days and how suicide rates are so much higher, how like your phone and or apps like know what mood you're in, so they show you more of that stuff and like, oh, it's insane.
I know. It's scary. It's a scary world out there. But like I said, it's hard because I do think there's good with social media too. So I think the big takeaway is just being mindful, just like everything else we talk about in life, finding that balance, thinking about the why behind like why you're watching something, why they might be saying something,
Why you're
blah, blah, blah.
scrolling so
Why
much.
you're scrolling. Also, I think I said this in another podcast, but Sophie taught me how to put parameters on how long I'm on social media, and that like changed my life. So, highly recommend getting a timer to tell you when to stop scrolling. Another tip that I'll just give out with social media is do not start your morning with it. That's
Oh,
just
The amount of people that wake up
Yeah.
and it just open it.
Oh yeah. I mean, their phones in general. I used to do it with my email. I used to do it with social media, and it is just not good for a lot of reasons, which that is a whole different podcast. But
No. But sometimes I have to say I check my email right when I wake up. At least when I worked at a commercial gym because I'm like, did anyone
cancellation.
cancel?
Yep. I can relate to you on that.
But 99% of my clients text me now. So I do check my text right when I wake up, and then, or else I get every minute of sleep I possibly can. So I ain't got time for social media when I wake up.
Well, let us know what are some things you guys like about social media. What are some things you hate? If you have any questions or suggestions about social media. And do you have any food for thought? I guess that is kind of a food for thought, but anything else you want to add, Sophie?
I would say pay attention to your mood before you open your social media apps and when you close the apps and see how it's changed.
That's such a good food for thought. And I can tell you my immediate answer 75% of the time is stress. That's another reason I got rid of TikTok. And not again because of like what I was listening to or watching. It was more of like kind of like you were saying, there's so much conflicting information and there's just so much information and people are just like so aggressive on it that
Ugh.
it causes me so much stress and anxiety. So thankfully Instagram does not do that, but it's a time-based thing for me on Instagram. I can't spend a lot of time, which is why sometimes I feel like I like go through a month where I'm like, yeah, I'm like all for it and into it and have a really good routine with it. And then like this month, I have barely been on it. So it comes and goes in waves, but I love that food for thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try it out, folks.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.